welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Track, Sports Business Unfiltered. I'm Arna, a grade 9 student at ISU in the Netherlands. I'm really excited and a little nervous because for this launch episode, we have someone whose story connects the court, the boardroom, and the research lab. Please welcome Mrs. Sukriti Bharadwaj.
Hello, Arna. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Thank you so much for joining us today as well. Sukriti is a competitive badminton athlete who has represented Rajasthan at national level tournaments. Alongside her sports career, she has also pursued academics in the field of sports, holding an MBA in sports management, and she's currently a PhD researcher. She has also worked as a project assistant at the International Center for Sports Security, which is also known as ICSS, and has been involved with large international sporting events like the Commonwealth Games and the World Roller Games. What makes her journey really interesting is that she has seen sports from both sides, as an athlete on ground and as a professional working behind the scenes in the business and management of sports. Now, before we dive into the business side of sports, just a quick note. This show is about real stories and the thinking behind industries, told by people who actually work in them. So expect honest, practical insight and maybe a few surprises along the way. Hi Sukriti, welcome to the show. So how are you doing today?
Hi, Arna. I'm very good. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Yeah.
Yes, and that's really nice. And before we get into this business side of sports, I would love to start a little personally. You have been an athlete, a student, a researcher, and someone who's worked on major national events. So if you had to describe your journey so far in one sentence, what would it be?
Well, it's really difficult to put it in one sentence, but I would say it has been a unique experience altogether to learn from people all around the world and to be in the chairs and then the boardrooms where you always dream of sitting as a kid in the early days as an athlete. So it has really been an amazing journey so far, and especially I would say a learning journey so far.
Yeah, I love that. And that actually connects perfectly to what we will be discussing today, which is the business side of sports. Most of us watch matches, tournaments, and big sporting events, but we rarely think about what's happening behind the scenes. It's the funding, sponsorships, operations, and planning that make all of this possible. So today I'll be asking you a few questions to understand the business of sports. So to start us off, from your experience working on major international events like the Commonwealth Games and the World Roller Games, what are the key revenue streams that make these events financially sustainable, and which ones would you say are the most critical to success?
Well, that's a very good question. So, as you mentioned, my experience with the games, World Roller Games, I was basically a volunteer coordinator back then. And from my experience, I would say that the main revenue streams for such major and multi-sporting events is obviously the media and the broadcasting rights, sponsorship, ticket sales, merchandising, and also the funding that the city receives from the government to support the host city. And we're also looking to the visitor spend, the people who are visiting the city for the tournament. So these are the major revenue source. But again, what's more critically, really, it depends on the event scale. But the media rights and sponsorship, I would say, is the backbone, and also because they provide us with predictable income, and also the presence that they make us more globally present, right? So tickets adds value, but again, for many multi-sporting events, that's not just the goal for the profit, but it's also about the legacy, the tourism, the long-term impacts, how it will have, what impacts it will have on the city and the residents or the athlete itself. It's also the key of the goals of the organization as a whole, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually really interesting because it just shows how many different income streams. So, like you said, media and then sponsorships need to like work together. And yeah, it also shows like how complex the business side of major sporting events is. So, that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely. Again, sponsorship and your event has to have, you're able to pitch your vision for the games, and that could actually help to have that fruitful impact that what the organizing committee is looking for. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's key.
definitely. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the second question. From the outside, sponsorships look like logos on jerseys or banners. From the inside, how do sport organizations prove return on investment to sponsors? And what makes sports such a powerful platform for brands compared to other forms of advertising?
Well, again, as said, sponsorship is much more than the logos. It's internally, I would say, the organization proved the return on investments through the audience data, the media exposure reports, and fans engagement metrics, and again the digital analysis of the key engagements as well. And that what makes sports quite unique, right? So it's the emotional connection of the fans and also with the teams and different events. And so brand is not just trying to advertise or associate themselves, but they're what they're looking at is associating themselves with the passion, identity, and again the shared experiences, which makes the sports far more authentic and trusted platform, right, than many other um, traditional advertising channels, I would say.
It really highlights why brands continue to invest so heavily in sports partnerships, and I can see why based on your response as well.
Yeah. So again, sponsorship is not just on paper on contracts and deals. It's also about how you're connecting with your audience, the fans, so that you associate with each other and able to have that emotional impact that can provide and connecting people at the global stage and together. So that's what the uniqueness of sport itself is, right? So
Yeah,
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 yeah.
definitely. Okay, so moving on to the next question. With your academic background in sports management, what business skills do you think young athletes or sports professionals definitely need today to succeed in sports industry?
Well, that I think that's a very key, important question for your session here today. Um, I think beyond the technical or the athletic skills that one perceive, young youngsters needs to have, and especially the who are working in the sports industry, have to have the financial literacy, the communication skills, personal branding. Nowadays, it's really important to have that, and the basic understanding of how sports business work. And again, when I mention communication, I'm talking about the soft skills, the able to adapt as well. And as we know that sports is a global industry, and it's also the content, it's the data and the business, right? And for those who understand the performance side and the business side, have they will be better prepared for the long-term careers, and also to know about how these contracts are made, how sponsorship deals are sealed, how media operates can be a real game changer and be and with your ability to know about basics about the analytics, and also that will really help the athlete as well as the professional to stay relevant beyond the court or the performance itself in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And I also personally think that communication is important because you actually use it quite a lot in your daily life, even if it's not in sports. But yeah, that's also really important.
Yeah, and with the fast-paced learning, when I talk about personal branding, is the story that you're willing to tell about yourself to the
Yeah.
audience is also really key to connect again with your audience.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. So moving on to the fourth question. How do international sports organizations like the ICSS or World Games Committees manage volunteers, workforce, and operations in a way that balances all of cost, efficiency, and quality?
Well, again, the volunteers are the key people who make these events more memorable, right? And these events highly rely on these volunteers and temporary workforce as such. And effective management also comes with the clear communication, as I mentioned before. So clear communication in terms of your roles, your duties, the structure of your training, the strong leadership, all of this balances out. And again, that is the key challenge, to balance the cost efficiency and with the service quality that the event can provide. And and we all know when a volunteer feels supportive and valued, so they are not just delivering the event for being successful, but they also become that part of that social and a community legacy for long-term benefits. And they become part of all the events that comes to the city, right? So I would say a good leadership, clear communication, and the smart scheduling can actually make a huge difference, and be able to find that good fit between the teams who can work better can be very helpful. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it answers it really well. And I find it really interesting to hear how much planning and structure also goes into these events to run it smoothly and also behind the scenes. So that's definitely really interesting as well.
Yeah, and from personal volunteering journey that I've been part with the games. When you're in the training sessions, the values, the key main pillars of the events that they talk about, the missions and the vision, it really motivates what games is trying to do to your city, and how you're contributing, what a valued member you are in making these events really fruitful and impactful, and able to greet people from even if it's just a person standing with their foam hands waving around. It does create that motivation and engagement with the audience that's coming to the event. So I think that's really important to have that clear set of structured roles around the games that could really help to make that key difference.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So moving on to the last question. Media rights have become one of the largest revenue drivers in global sports, as you may know. And based on your experience, how do broadcasting and digital media deals influence the way sporting events are designed, scheduled, and even commercialized?
Well, again, this is the future of sports with the digital media and platforms, right? So media right now influences almost every aspect of your event planning, to match scheduling, to different formats, and even the event venue design, right? So digital platforms has able to expand that influence further, and they're able to create that, provide to the global audience watching, television or streaming services on all on the social media. So they have a major influence on the people, what story they are telling. So it has pushed the sports organization not just to focus on the stadium, but also to focus on the storytelling aspect, the content creation, and the long-term digital engagement one can have with such events. So it's not just focused on the live event itself. So it has led the organizers, sorry, to think beyond the stadium and able to create something a year-round monetizable content and able to reach the audience and able to tell that story, even if someone is sitting far
Yeah. Mhm.
far away from the stadiums and far away from the city. So able to create that brand experience and exposure itself about the games and feel able to connect people around across the world is again the key aspects that digital platforms are able to provide us with.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that what you said about how powerful media is also helping in shaping the modern sports, and not just financially, but also in way that how fans experience events worldwide. So,
Yeah. And especially like youngsters, people like you who are very good with making reels and the real-time content, you can engage with your audience at that particular time. So that has given a very big platform for the organizers to think beyond the stadia itself, I
yeah,
would say. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Well, that was the last question, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's really been an insightful conversation, and I've learned a lot personally. And to everyone listening, thank you for being such a great audience. And again, thank you so much, Sukriti, for taking the time to answer my questions and doing the interview. I wish you all the best for your career. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arna, and I hope you do well as well and all the very best. So cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Track, Sport Business Unfiltered. See you in the next episode.